Hi everyone, my name is Caroline Mendez, and this is my analysis of the honors thesis Alarm Fatigue, an Alarming Situation by Michaelan Koyman. It was completed in 2014 as a part of the Nursing Honors Program at the University of Utah. Before reading this thesis, I assumed that an honors thesis would be long, dense, and highly technical. I expected it to be filled with citations and jargon, written mostly for experts, and honestly, I thought it'd be intimidating to follow. I wasn't sure if it would feel accessible to me as a student or if I would struggle to make sense of it. This thesis focuses on alarm fatigue and neonatal intensive care units, also known as NICUs. Alarm fatigue happens when constant alarms cause nurses and families to become desensitized, which increases the risk of missing true emergencies. The central claim of this thesis is that alarm fatigue is a serious safety issue that disrupts patient care, delays treatment, and adds more stress for families and staff. The author studied this using two approaches. First, by analyzing data from 58 premature infants under 33 weeks. The second, by conducting surveys with 92 NICU nurses and 21 parents. By combining quantitative data with surveys, the thesis captured both the scale of the problem and the human experience behind it. The main audience for this thesis is nursing and healthcare professionals, but the writing is accessible enough for students and non-specialists to follow. The author engages the audience by clearly defining alarm fatigue using a simple analogy, the story of the boy who cried wolf. This shows how alarms can lose meaning and by including direct quotes from both nurses and families. These strategies make the thesis relatable and engaging while maintaining a professional and academic tone. The thesis follows the standard research structure: abstract, introduction, methods, results, discussions, and references. It uses figures and tables to support the findings, which is common in nursing research. The formatting is professional and consistent, which makes the information easy to navigate and matches the expectations for writing and publishing in this field. Citations are handled consistently in APA style. The bibliography includes about 20 scholarly sources, which is extensive for an undergraduate thesis. It cites seminal works such as AACN Practice Alerts and ECRI's Top 10 Hazardous Reports. These show that the author built her work on a solid foundation of established research. The thesis does include an abstract, and it's very effective. It introduces the concept of alarm fatigue, explains why it's important, outlines the methods, and previews the key results. By the time you finish reading the abstract, you already understand the problem, why it matters, how the study was done, and what the findings are. It clearly illuminates what follows. The methods section is divided into two parts. In part one, the author analyzed data from premature infants under 33 weeks gestation at Primary Children's Hospital. Some infants had hundreds of alarms per day, and in one case, over 2,000 alarms in just 24 hours. In part two, the author conducted surveys of NICU nurses and parents to understand their perceptions of alarms. The surveys were anonymous, voluntary, and approved by the Institutional Review Board, which ensured ethical standards. The design gave the project both quantitative alarm data and qualitative insight from people who were most affected. The results were really striking. 42% of infants had fewer than 500 alarms per day. 43% had between 501 and 1,000, and a small number had over 1,000 alarms in just one day. From the surveys, 83% of nurses said that false alarms disrupt workflow, and 79% said alarms disrupt families. Over half reported that alarms delayed patient care. From the parent surveys, 38% said alarms made it difficult for their babies to sleep, and 80% said alarms repeated for the same reason. These findings show that alarm fatigue is disruptive for both staff and families, and it affects care at every level. The discussion highlights why alarm fatigue matters. It explained how constant alarm and can cause nurses to become desensitized, leading to delayed responses, and how families lose trust when they see alarms ignored. It also describes how alarms disrupt patients' sleep and cause stress for both parents and infants. The author suggests solutions such as customizing alarm settings, providing nurse education, and reducing false alarms. She also points out the limitations of the study. It was based on one NICU and had a relatively small sample. Still, the discussion is effective because it connects the results to real-world practice and shows how reducing alarm fatigue could improve patient safety. The thesis uses illustrations and tables effectively. Graphs summarize alarm counts and survey results, making patterns very easy to follow. Tables of survey responses highlight percentages of agreement and concern. These visuals strengthen the argument by making the problem feel concrete. There isn't a separate appendix, but all the critical information is included in the main body. Because of that, the thesis feels complete without needing one. The thesis is consistent in tone, structure, and style. It flows logically from interjection to results to discussion, and it keeps a professional voice throughout. Weaker areas include some repetition in the discussion, where points are restated that were already introduced in the background, and the limitation that the study only studied one NICU. These normal challenges for an undergraduate thesis don't take away from the overall effectiveness of the work. This thesis was written in 2014, so some monitoring technology may be dated. However, the alarm of the issue of alarm fatigue is still relevant today. The author's recommendations, like customizing alarm parameters, educating staff, and reducing false alarms, still remain practical and important. My overall impression is that this is a strong professional honors thesis. It balances quantitative alarm data with the personal experiences of nurses and family, which makes the research both rigorous and relatable. For my own future work, I'll take inspiration from the clear structure, the thorough bibliography, and the way it connects human experience with data to make a meaningful case. My analysis both confirmed that and challenged my expectations. Going in, I thought an honors thesis would feel intimidating, overly technical, and out of reach for someone like me. Instead, I found this project accessible, well organized, and even engaging. What surprised me more was the scale of the problem. The fact that some infants had more than 2,000 alarms in a single day was more dramatic than I could even ever imagine. I also didn't expect the surveys to show how deeply families are affected by this. The thesis connected those human experiences to the data in a way that made the problem feel urgent and real. Overall, this project reassured to me that while writing an honors thesis requires a commitment and hard work, it is absolutely achievable. It also gave me a model to follow for my own future work. It taught me to balance data with personal perspectives and always make the research meaningful for real people. Thank you for listening to my analysis of alarm fatigue, an alarming situation by Michaela Koyman. This thesis demonstrated that alarms, while meant to save lives, can create new risk when they happen too often. By combining alarm data with the voices of nurses and families, the author showed that alarm fatigue is a both technical and human problem. For me, this project was a reminder that a strong research doesn't just present numbers, it connects them to real experiences. That's the kind of balance that I want to bring into my own thesis. Thank you again for your time and attention.